Hi there, I'm John Shields from Chesapeake Bites. Today we're going down on a farm. Now, sometimes you're thinking that's corn or that's wheat or something else, but we're going to Manchester Mushroom Farm. Because I don't think a lot of us know how the hotel bill mushrooms grow. It's like, where do they come from? And we have Andrew here.
I'm gonna show you.
Who's the man that knows, and I'm gonna learn a lot today too. So let's go and find out everything about mushrooms.
Let's grow some mushrooms, John.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about Manchester Mushroom Farm and how the mushrooms grow.
So, Manchester Mushroom Farm started with my bosses, Ian and Caitlin. We are centralized in Manchester, Maryland, in Carroll County, currently working out of this facility here in Phoenix and Baltimore County. As we upscale rapidly, the plan is to move up to Manchester, but currently I'm gonna show you everything we've got on this facility here, right?
Awesome.
So, mushroom growing 101, right?
Okay.
Starts with these guys right here. So these are our cultures. This is our culture bank right here. So John, you can kind of see in these jars floating around at the bottom of there, almost looks like a SCOBY for kombucha or like the mother from vinegar.
It's an alien.
That is the organism. It does look very science fiction, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So this is mycelium right here, and that is the organism. So if you can imagine like an apple tree growing out, right?
Yeah.
The tree is the organism, the apple is the fruit that we're able to consume, right?
Yes.
And that helps the organism spread because we spread the seeds when we do that. Same thing with a mushroom.
Okay.
So this is the mycelium, and in nature, this is what's growing underground, through the ground. You're actually stepping on mycelium like every step you take throughout the forest floor.
Yeah.
The mushrooms that you see pop out, that's just the fruiting body of the organism. That's the apple of the apple tree, if you will.
Wow.
And when we pick those mushrooms,
Yeah.
we're helping to spread the spores of the organism, just like we would with an apple on an apple tree.
So that's kind of like foraging is how that all happens.
Foraging is actually good for the environment. So when
Yeah.
you're going out and picking mushrooms and you're helping to spread those spores and help that mycelium continue to grow and
Yeah.
spread throughout nature.
Well,
And actually,
traditionally, that's how people found mushrooms and started eating
that's
mushrooms.
how it started.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how it started, you know? Some you can eat once and that's it. Some
Uh-huh.
you can continue to eat, you know what I mean?
And some not so much.
That's right. And some are a little in between,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. But we stick to just the gourmet culinary mushrooms here at the farm. And let me show you kind of the next step
So
of that
what?
process.
Yeah. So what would happen from there to there?
So we would take one of those liquid cultures and we would inoculate what's called grain spawn. I've actually got a bag of grain spawn that's almost done inoculating right here, right? So you can see all that white coming on through here.
Yeah.
Again, that's that mycelium that was in that jar.
So explain inoculating there.
So we take grain, right? This particular grain that we like to use is millet. And what we do is we sterilize this, right? So we cook it in a pressure cooker
Yeah.
for 2.5 hours at 15 PSI, right? And that kills basically everything within. From there, you can see this little patch right here that's called a filter patch. So we
Okay.
can take one of these syringes. You see we've got some of these syringes in here, and this was actually some that we've purchased from a reputable source. So we have tons that we've made ourselves. We do get some from reputable sources as well, just kind of playing around with different species and cultures and seeing what works for us.
Yeah.
But you would take one of those syringes in front of what's called laminar flow hood, which I will show you here in just a little bit.
Okay.
And you would stick that syringe through your filter patch or port and go into the sterilized millet.
Yeah.
From there, in about a week, sometimes a month, depends on the species, but that white will take over and inoculate the entire grain spawn
Okay,
bag,
gotcha,
right?
Gotcha.
Now from there, we take grain spawn and we inoculate again into what's called substrate, okay? So currently, this is our big steam closet right here. And I know you can't tell on camera, but you can get that aroma in the air right now, right? It smells a little woody, a little fresh, like you're in a wood shop almost, right?
Oh, it's great.
So we
love
use what's called master's mix as our substrate. And substrate is just what that mycelium is gonna end up attaching to then eventually produce a mushroom. Our master's mix is gonna be an equal part soy hull and hardwood pellets, right? So you
Okay.
get a little bit of nutrient and then a little bit of wood for it to actually grab onto and act as like a host, right? So we sterilize that grain spawn I showed you originally. This is going to be pasteurized, okay? Now the difference being it's a little bit less temperature, no real pressure involved here, and there's still some thermophilic, which is heat-loving bacteria, just a little bit that's still going to be in the wood that actually the mushrooms will end up outcompeting, right? So this process is just a little bit easier, a little less scientific, if you will. You know what I mean? There's a little more give here and there. So it doesn't have to be quite as exact as the PSI and the temperature as that. Here we just want 180 degrees for 8 hours, and we know that's good. So these have been cooking for about 24 hours now.
All right.
They'll go for about another 8 hours today, and then I'll be able to open that up, cool it down, and from there, if you want to kind of poke your head in here, John. So this is our clean room or our lab. You guys are more than welcome to kind of step through here. Ooh. Luckily, I'm not doing any inoculations. Typically, in this room, it would be do not enter on a typical day, right?
Okay.
So this needs to be a completely sterile environment when I'm doing these substrate bags. So you can see it's the same door on this side, right?
Yeah.
So that way I can open it without the outside contaminants getting in, right? So then I can pull these out when it's done cooking. And in front of this, which is called a laminar flow hood, right? So two different kinds of fluid flow. This is where it's gonna get a little scientific, if you will.
Yeah.
But turbulent air, right? So you're in an airplane, turbulent air going up and down, all kinds of different directions.
Yeah.
Laminar flow, the complete opposite. This is giving like basically a solid wall of air coming out this way with no turbulence. So what that means is I can take one of these bags of substrate right out of here and open it as long as I'm in front of this flow hood. Any spore that might be flowing through the air that's not a mushroom spore, so any kind of bacteria or something we don't want to get into that bag, if it's falling down naturally and hits here, it gets blown this way almost immediately.
It can't get in.
So as long as I'm in front of here, I can take that grain spawn bag, that was that kind of pink and white bag I showed you earlier.
Yeah.
I can add a little bit of that to one of these of that soy hull and wood mix, and then within a couple weeks, I've got a fully inoculated bag of mycelium on substrate. Whew. I know, it's a lot, isn't it? It's easier to look at it and kind of see that process. So you can start to see, I just did this on the 18th. Today's the 21st, so this is 3 days ago. This particular one right here is our Piapino mushroom, which I'll show you later. But you can see all those little white specks right here?
Oh, yeah.
So you can even see, like, these are little grains of millet, right? So I took a little bit of that grain spawn and I added it to this hydrated mix of soy hull and wood pellet, and now that grain spawn that has the mycelium mushroom organism growing on it is starting to take over, and it's going to grow on this wood and soy hull mix. So within a couple of weeks, you'll see these white spots. They'll just start spreading out, and you can almost start to see that it actually, like, it grows in like this web-like outwards like that. So you'll see these spots just grow in diameter over the course of a couple of days.
So
until
they
the whole
actually
thing's
grow,
wet.
it grows in the bag.
It grows in the bag. And again, we've got that filter patch here again, right? So it's letting very, 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 very little air in and out, but enough that it can get just a little bit of fresh oxygen in and out of there, right? If you get too much oxygen in here, A, you're gonna get spores and contamination, bacteria going in, but B, the mushrooms are smart. They want oxygen. So they're not like a plant where a regular plant will ingest our CO2 and then emit oxygen for the ecosystem. Mushrooms are a lot like us. Mushrooms want oxygen.
Yeah.
They breathe in the oxygen and they exhibit the CO2. So if you have too much airflow coming in one of these filter patches, and this thing was fully white with mycelium, a mushroom would start growing actually through that filter patch. They know, they can sense the oxygen like that. You know what I mean? It's really cool to see.
That's amazing.
There's a lot to learn from these little guys. Let me tell you, learn about them and learn from.
I would imagine. Wow.
Yeah. So we're at the scale now here at the Manchester Mushroom Farm, where we're actually doing 230 of these bags a week right now. Okay? We started at about 100, then it was 150. Then it was 200. I can only really fit 230, so we're at capacity, you know what I mean? Our next step is gonna be, well, let's run this thing twice a week. So it's cool to have been with this company for only about a year and just watched it go up and up and up and up and up, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Seems like we know what we're doing.
It feels that way.
It does,
Yes.
it does. So I know we walked by all these shelves out here, John, but you can kind of see. So within just a few weeks' time here, you can see it starts to take over. So these are the exact same bags that I had in there. They just have a little bit more time to them. So if you remember, the date on those was 3 days ago, from the 18th of March.
Yep.
Check out this guy from the 10th of March.
Wow.
So with just a couple weeks, it's starting to take over that whole bag, right? And within another week or so, it'll have completed the colonization and it'll have taken over this entire bag of substrate.
Wow.
Now, the next process after that
Yeah.
would be what we call fruiting. Now, I actually have a couple that are ready, so why don't I grab one off of here? So this would be our lion's mane mushroom.
Yeah.
So this would be like the final stage of in the bag, right? So you can see that that white has taken over all the wood and soy hull, and then we've actually got what's starting to look like a mushroom in the bag,
Yes.
right? This is called primordia or primordial growth. So this is like the beginning stages of a mushroom. But again, since we haven't let too much oxygen in here, it's basically capped at about that size.
Okay.
If I made a little tiny cut, just a pinhole in this bag, within a day, you'd see a mushroom going, oh, oxygen, I can sense it, right? So our next step of this process, John, this is what we call fruiting, right? So we want to, now that we know that the whole thing is taken over, right? Now we're ready to grow a mushroom, right? We're ready. We can say, okay, this thing's healthy, it's bursting at the seams, and it wants to make a mushroom, right?
Yep.
It's at the end of its cycle here, and it wants to reproduce so it can continue the mushroom race, if you will. You know what I mean? So what we do for this particular species, which is lion's mane, is cut the top of the bag, and again, now I've exposed to oxygen, right? Now, one thing I could do, technically, is I could just kind of leave this like here, right? And all this primordial growth would grow into a mushroom. The only issue is it wouldn't exactly be the prettiest mushroom on the world, right? It's still edible and there'd be nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But again, as we go to farmers markets and we're selling to chefs wholesale, we want our product to be absolutely perfect and the best that we can produce, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we can kind of control the mushroom, if you will, and force it to do what we want by removing this primordial growth right here, right? So if we just kind of scrape off that whole top layer, and again, if you remember what I said earlier, right? The mushroom is just the fruiting body, but the organism is the mycelium.
Yeah.
So this whole
There and
bag
there.
this is the whole organism right there, right? So now the organism is saying, hey, where'd my mushroom go? I still want to reproduce. You know what? I'm ready to produce a mushroom so I can spore out and spread,
Yeah.
right? So we can kind of force it to do what we want by closing this bag back up. And what I'm gonna do is, you're gonna notice, because I got that filter patch, right? And I'll get a little bit of airflow through that filter patch, right? So I'm gonna roll it on itself to kind of seal that filter patch, right? John, would you mind handing me that tape roll that's on that shelf right there?
Certainly.
Thank you kindly. Okay. And now I'm gonna tape it back up. So now I've got a sealed container again, and I know the mycelium is fully ready because it had primordial growth, but I've removed the primordial growth so that this doesn't have a chance to turn into a mushroom.
Yeah.
So now I can kind of force where that's gonna happen, right? And it couldn't be a simpler process, John. There it is, right there. Now, in about a week, you'll have what's called pinning, right? So what that is the very beginning stages of a mushroom with lots of oxygen. So because this didn't have too much oxygen, it was really just this kind of like flat mat of flesh, if you will.
Yeah.
But when it has oxygen, it'll cause what's called pinning. And why we call it that is because they literally look like
Yeah.
little tiny pins coming off the block. Let me show you what that looks like over here.